Hello, my name's Mr. Nicky. If I haven't taught you before, I'm an English teacher at the Asian International School. I'm going to be doing the Toefl beginner remote classes until we're able to be back in the real classrooms. This is quite a strange, surreal experience for me, not something I've ever done before, but I hope this will go smoothly and I hope you're able to find this beneficial. In English classes, I'm going to be combining your speaking, reading and writing rather than separating them out. So within each lesson, there will be a little bit of each of these elements. Today, we're going to be using the textbook Developing Skills for Writing, Chapter 2, specifically pages 550 to 552. Throughout the presentation, I might ask you to pause the video. Sometimes this will be to practice speaking or pronunciation. Other times it might be to complete a task in the book. Whatever tasks I ask you to do in the book, I will give answers to, but please complete these on your own before going forward onto that section of the video to get the most from these classes. I hope you find this helpful. Let's get started. Okay, the objectives today are to be able to distinguish key information from a written passage and spoken lecture. The topic for that today is on anxiety. And secondly, the objective is to be able to rewrite a passage of text without changing the overall meaning and message, again, on the subject of anxiety. Before we get started, there are a few vocab words that I want to go through with you. I've picked out the ones I think are most important or the most widely used from the list. The first word we have is mental. It's an adjective. You can see it says in the book it's related to the mind and the thought process. Basically, anything that goes on in your brain would be described as a mental process. The second word is internal. In your book, this says acting or effective within the body. They've been specific to the body there. More broadly, it can be applied to anything inside. If you look at a computer chip, that would be considered an internal part of the computer. The third word we have is conflict. The definition in the book says a disagreement, an argument, or a state of disharmony. These can go from very extreme to not very extreme. For example, an extreme conflict would be a war or a fight. What we're looking at today is more of a difference in opinion between schools of thought. The fourth word, you'll see I've skipped id, ego, and superego. That's because these are very specific to one particular topic, and actually I don't think we need them a huge amount in today's class. So neurosis is the fourth word. Neurosis is an emotional or mental sickness. For example, depression, anxiety, eating disorders such as anorexia and bulimia would also be considered neurosis. Word number 5, theorist. In your book, again, it says a person who supports a certain theory or set of ideas, or somebody who thinks of these. For example, Isaac Newton is a very famous theorist. You've probably heard of his theory on gravity and friction and other such things. Okay, he has these ideas and people agree with them or disagree with them. Looking towards the bottom section now, heavy going is an interesting phrase. Difficult and tedious to do or understand. Tedious meaning boring. I've got a couple of books here I thought would maybe be good examples. This is kind of a short story book. Very easy to read, not difficult, doesn't take too long, not boring, quite fun. Compared to How a Decade of Financial Crisis Changed the World. A big, fat, quite tedious, boring, heavy-going book. School of thought, a phrase, a theory or set of ideas believed and taught by a certain group of people. Probably a good way to think about this is religions are schools of thought. We have Islam, Christianity, Buddhists. They all believe in gods and higher powers, but they believe in worshipping in different ways, and those are their schools of thought. They believe in different things. The next word is symptom, possibly a word you've seen around a lot at the moment. A symptom is a physical sign of something. So, for example, at the moment we have coronavirus. One of the symptoms, one of the signs that you have this would be a sore throat and a cough. Penultimate word, unequivocally, without doubt. If you are very certain about something, you can say you are unequivocal about it. And the last word is interfere, to block or to prevent normal functioning. At the moment, for example, the coronavirus is interfering with our ability to go to school. It is preventing us, it is stopping us from doing it. Okay, on to reading. You will see on page 550, there is a passage on anxiety. Now, first off, I'd like you to read this to yourself, and then in a moment, I will read through it for you. While you're reading through it, if you're unsure of the pronunciation of any of the words, please underline them, and then listen out particularly to those words as I'm going through it. You might want to pause and rewind to practice these. I will try not to read too quickly so that you can hear them clearly. Please pause the video now. Okay, anxiety is a very complex and mysterious mental disorder based on Freudian theory. Though a variety of models to explain anxiety exist, most agree that a combination of biological, psychological, and social factors are involved. Sigmund Freud suggested that anxiety results from internal unconscious conflict. He believed that a person's mind blocks uncomfortable wishes and fantasies. These thoughts are blocked by a person's id, ego, or superego. This blocking, Freud believed, results in anxiety disorders, also called neuroses. Recently, behavioral researchers have challenged Freud's model of anxiety. They believe one's anxiety level is related to feelings of control. For example, children who have little control over events, perhaps because of overprotective parents, may have little confidence in their ability to handle problems with adults. This lack of confidence can lead to an increased anxiety. Behavioral theorists also believe that children may learn anxiety from a role model, such as a parent. By observing a parent's anxious response to challenging situations, a child may learn a similar anxious response. Okay, now, at the top of the page, it asks you to underline the most important information in that passage. I've underlined or highlighted 8 sentences or 8 sections of sentences, which I would consider the key information. If you could please go through that now, and in a moment I'll show you my answers and we can see if we said the same thing. Okay, pause the video again now, please. Okay, the first sentence that I thought was key information was the very first one. Anxiety is a very complex and mysterious mental disorder. This introduces the whole topic of the text, so I think that is definitely key information. The second section I thought was key information starts in line 3. It says a combination of biological, psychological, and social factors are involved. Defining that, the issue of anxiety, and explaining some of the things that go behind it, definitely important. The third section, I've added a little ellipsis in here just to turn it into a full sentence. But in lines 5 and 6, I've said Freud believed that a person's mind blocks uncomfortable wishes and fantasies. This is one of the schools of thought that will be discussed in today's class. A bit more information about it. This blocking, Freud believes, results in anxiety disorders. Then I had to find the other side of the argument. So behavioral researchers have challenged Freud's model of anxiety. This is key because it shows that there is a disagreement or a little bit of a conflict between schools of thought. Again, a bit more information about what the behavioral researchers believe. They believe one's anxiety level is related to feelings of control. This is different from what Freud had said, and I think just from reading this, you can pretty much understand the basic argument. Finally, a last point from the behavioral researchers, a lack of confidence can lead to anxiety. Children may learn anxiety from a role model or parent. You may have separated those out into 2 things. I've just put a little ellipsis in there. But hopefully we found some fairly similar things there. Okay, I'm going to shut up for a moment and let you get on with step 2 and 3 independently. Please follow the instructions in the book and complete the tasks that go with them. Okay, for step 4, I have added the text to the slide. This is a response to the lecture that you have just listened to in step 2. The first thing you need to do, at the top of the page, you'll see there's 4 words following this: in conclusion, first of all, and again. Those need to be fitted into the gaps 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the text. Okay, answers. Number 1 was first of all. Number 2, following this. Number 3, again. And number 4, in conclusion. Okay, hopefully you got those correct. Now I'm going to leave that on the page. The next thing you need to do is underline the main point, the example, and the final summary statement in that response. If you've got it in your book, do it in your book. If not, maybe just write it down in a notebook. Okay, so 3 sentences from that text. The main point, the example sentence, and a final summary statement. Okay, we will see if your results now match mine. You'll see on page 552, it asks you to rewrite those sentences that you've underlined in your own words. And these were the answers that I came up with. Again, these are in your own words, so our answers will not be the same, but hopefully we've got similar themes. The main point, I have said that not all feelings of nervousness and anxiety indicate a mental disorder. Second was the example sentence. I think the sentence that shows the main point is that feeling anxious before exams or important occasions is a normal reaction. And the summary sentence, which I think sums it up the best, is occasional feelings of anxiety should not lead one to self-diagnose a mental disorder. Hopefully you found some fairly similar things there. Okay, to finish off today, you'll see in the book there is a writing task. It says, write your own response with the help of the sample and the words or phrases that you wrote in step 4. The suggested word count is about 180 words, which is not a particularly long paragraph. You should complete this on the computer, and then please, once you've finished, email it to your English teacher, and they will mark it and get it back to you. Okay, so that's about as far as I'm going to go with you today. We're just going to review the objectives and make sure you were able to do the things that we needed. So, have you successfully distinguished the key information from the written passage and spoken lecture? Yes? Hopefully. Number 2, have you successfully rewritten the passage of text in step 4 without changing the overall meaning and message? I'm sure you have. I'm sure it's awesome. I'm sure it's fantastic, great, and wonderful. That is where we are going to stop today. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you found that interesting and useful. If you have any kind of tips or anything you think I should be doing in these videos differently, please do contact the school, and I'm sure they will get back to me and I can alter however necessary. Thank you.